Hi everyone, it's me again, back for another geography lesson again this week. Thank you to those of you who sent in your geography work from last week's session. I was really impressed with the work that I saw. I could see lots of you had shown that you were using really good map skills, which was fantastic. You'd also been able to identify using maps where the start of the river, the source of the river, and the mouth of the river as well. So I was really impressed at how you've been able to show me that learning. Well done, thank you. This week we've got another geography lesson that I wanted to share with you. So when you log on to the Google Drive, if you go into the Year 4 Home Learning folder, you'll see there's a Week 8 folder, and within that Week 8 folder there is a Geography folder. In that Geography folder there's a PowerPoint that I'd like you to open up, and that's the PowerPoint that I'm going to share with you in just a moment. So I'm just going to change my screen so that you can see that. There it is. So when you open up the PowerPoint, you'll see that it looks a little bit like this. Ideally, I'd like you to view it in slideshow mode. So if you click on slideshow at the top here, and if you go to from beginning, you can see that it just makes the PowerPoint a little bit bigger, but also it means that you can see things at each stage, which is how I'd like you to see them. So as you can see, today's geography, we're going to be looking at key rivers. That means the main rivers, important rivers from around the world. So moving wider in the world, not just looking at the UK rivers like last week. And we're going to be locating, that means finding out where those rivers are in the world. Okay, and once you've found out about where those rivers are in the world, we're going to go a bit further as well. We're going to start thinking about why those rivers are famous. We're going to start thinking about exactly where in the world they are. And we're also going to start thinking about how we can compare those rivers as well. So moving on to the first slide then, I just want to see what it is you can remember from last week's learning. So what is the source of a river? Can anyone remember? Yeah, that's right. The source of the river is the place where the river begins or where the river starts. And I could see lots of you had found lots of different sources of the different rivers from the UK rivers from last week's learning, which is fantastic. Well done. Next question then. What is the mouth of the river? Yeah, well done. The mouth of the river is where the river flows into the sea. So which sea it ends up in? Where do most rivers start? Interesting. Can you remember that one? Yeah, most rivers start in high ground or even mountains. And the reason for that is because the river has to start up high so that the water can flow downwards before it starts to slow down. Initially, the water that starts up in high ground is quite a fast flowing river before eventually, as it moves into flatter land, the river slows down as well. And then finally, do all rivers flow directly into the sea? Yeah, that's right. No, not all rivers flow into the sea. Some of them can flow into other rivers or into lakes. I was really impressed to see that some of you had been looking at the Wallington River, the river that's quite close to our school, and you found out that the Wallington River's mouth is actually into a lake. So I was really impressed with that learning. Well done. So last week we learnt those two key words for our geography. We were looking at the mouth of the river and the source of the river. This week there's another key word that we're introducing, which is the word tributary. And as you can see, the word tributary just means where another river joins into a main river. And you can see this picture here shows the number of different tributaries that are coming from the River Thames. So the River Thames in London is the main river, and lots of tributaries, lots of smaller streams of water are coming off of that, though that's exactly what tributary means. So moving on to our task then this week, I want us to start thinking about different rivers from around the world. And you can see in this table here that there are 5 key rivers from different places in the world: the River Amazon, the River Congo, the River Mississippi, the River Ob, and the River Nile. And we can start comparing those rivers. Now you can see rivers can be compared by how long the river is, or if it's the biggest river. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the widest river by being the biggest river. When we say, is it the biggest river, that's usually measured by the amount of water that flows along it per second. Okay, so how quickly the water flows within that river. So as you can see here in this table, we can use the arrows at the top here to reorder the information. So at the moment, the Amazon River is at the top there, but if I click on it to sort the information by the length, the longest river, you can see as I click, the River Nile has now become the top of that river, and that's because at the top of that table, sorry, and that's because it is the longest river out of those 5 rivers. I can see that the River Nile is 6,853 kilometres long, and that means from the source of the river, the beginning of the river, all the way down to the mouth of the river. That's what it means by the length of the river. Okay, 6,853 kilometres, and that's longer than any of the other rivers in that table there. Okay, but you can also see that we don't always measure a river by its length. We can also measure the discharge of the river, and that just means the amount of water flowing in that river per second. Okay, so while the River Nile is the longest river, we can see quite clearly it's not the biggest river by the amount of discharge. If I click here, you can see that actually the Amazon River has a much bigger discharge because of the amount of water flowing through that river per second. That's a massive difference, isn't it, between those 2 rivers? So, moving on to your task then for home learning this week, I'd like you to be using the internet this week, or books if you've got non-fiction books at home as well, but I'd like you to choose one of those rivers that we've just looked at. You can choose either the River Amazon, the River Congo, the River Mississippi, the River Ob, or the River Nile. And I want you to use the internet or books if you have them to be able to research as much information as you can find out about your chosen river. I want you to find out where the source of your river is, so where that river begins. I want you to find out how long that river is, and also if you can find out the discharge of that river as well. Obviously use the table from the slide before to help you. But I don't want you to just stop there. I also want you to think about which countries does that river pass through? Is it just one country? Is it longer than the length of one country? Does it pass through more than one country? Can you find that out? I also want you to look a bit deeper into those rivers as well. And I don't just want you to think about where those rivers are, but I want you to start thinking about what those rivers are used for. And you could even extend that to start thinking about how that's different nowadays in modern day compared to what it used to be used for in the past. Could you do some research to find out what do people use that river for now compared to what they did in history? How might that have changed? And also, why is that river famous? Why is that river considered one of the key rivers in the world? Why is that? What can you find out? Once you've found out that information, you might want to take some notes so that you can remember the facts that you've found out. Once you've taken that information down, I want you to create a nice eye-catching and bright poster. And you can see I've provided you a poster here as an example. In order for it to be a poster, it needs to be bright and colourful and eye-catching. But I particularly chose this poster as an example because you can see it's not just colourful, it also has some information on there as well, the key facts that I've asked you to find out about. So there are some fact boxes also included on that poster. It might be that you decide to create your poster on a computer, like the one that's provided here, and you might want to use a program like Microsoft Word to create your poster, or Publisher, or PowerPoint perhaps, or you might want to hand draw your poster. That's absolutely fine too. You decide. I'd like to see your posters bright, colourful, but full of as much information that you can find out from using your research from the internet. Once you've created your poster, I'd love to see them. So please photograph them and send them to me on the email address so that I can share them with other people as well. Look out for them on next week's celebration assembly if you do. It might be that once you've created one poster, you might want to find out about another river. That'd be great. But I'd really like to start comparing the rivers that you find out about by sharing all of the ones that I've seen from all of the year group. So, good luck with your task. I can't wait to see the amazing posters that you create. Have fun. Take care. Bye.